All right, welcome back to the program. Now let's get into the discussion now. The time now is 2 minutes past 7 a.m. on this beautiful Monday, the 14th of July 2025. Welcome to the program. Let's talk about the issue at hand, and we've been waiting for this for far too long as a country, and now we can confirm that was done last week, that we have got IEBC is now a full house, and now that calls for a lot of things to be happening in the country, starting with by-elections. We have got a lot of things to do with the delimitation of the boundaries, gazettement of vacancies, setting election timelines, etc., and logistical preparations ahead of the 2027 general election. And of course, we have got the procurement processes that is needed, voter registration and verification, which is actually potentially conducting a fresh registration drive, and also just trying to upload the voter register in the affected areas, and so much more. We want to take a look at that. And now, what is in the basket for the IEBC led by Commissioner Chair, that is Edung Ethekon, who is the chairperson. Let me start by introducing my guest, Odoyo Wedi, who is a political analyst, joining me on set. Good morning.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning, Kenyans.
Karibu sana. Let me start with you. The month of June has been a very tough one. Before we get into the discussion, what are some of the key highlights that you picked in the month of June, May, June, until here we are today? I think that is the month that really tested our patience as a country.
Actually, what made me unhappy most was July 25th.
Yes. Because
Kenyans set out to go to the streets to commemorate last year's Gen Z protest.
Right.
And in the end, we lost very many people. We destroyed a lot of property, and Kenyans became more divided. We did not learn from that, and we repeated the same thing on Sabasaba, and the script was the same. So it is time that Kenyans know that we do need peace for growth, economic growth, educational growth, and every other growth that this country needs as one of the youngest countries in the world. And I think as Kenyan also, we must learn to live together. It is increasingly becoming well known that there are biasness in handling matters of society in this country. And that was born in June.
Okay, so that's what's really happened. And of course, we had a new finance bill. We have a new act in place now. The 2025-2026 budget is here.
I think the budgets in this country have always been there every year in June. And there was a lot of heat the previous year. And when I compare the finance bills that we have had before, the difference was very small. So to me, the heat on the finance bill last year, I think it was orchestrated by interested parties. Whatever they were interested in, I do not know up to today. This year it was silent because I think the government was prepared that could happen, and they were prepared with the necessary answers. I think the previous year they had assumed it will flow like it has flown over the years. But little did they know, around the corner there were people waiting for them to attack. Yes.
Okay. Let's wait and see what's going to happen. And okay, so a quick one before I bring in Wakili, Judge Kithi. We have got the new commissioners now. This was long coming, and now we can say that IEBC is fully constituted. Let me get to your point at this point, Odoyo. It's been a matter that Kenyans have been waiting for far too long. But in your own opinion, what do you think is now in the basket for the commissioners?
I think they have more that probably they can't handle if they don't pull up their socks. Because there's the limitation of boundaries, voter registration, and I think many more housekeeping issues in that process. In fact, I was wondering why so many other people were trying to sabotage the setup of IEBC as it went on. Because Kenyans behave like those commissioners are able to determine who becomes the president and who does it. It is the voters who do it. And the system that has been put in the voting in Kenya, the commissioners have very little input in it unless they just want to be rogue. You remember in the previous parliamentary term, there were 4 commissioners who were largely appointed by the Uhuru and Raila Odinga axis. And they came in and they appeared in the public eye to be pro those 2 gentlemen. But they could not sway the results of the elections. So I think commissioners, people who largely stay at the headquarters and are only there on policy issues, I think they cannot affect the results of election outcomes. Considering the system that have been put, every election station, of course, there are agents for every party. There are forms that are filled that are handed over to every party, transmitted. So when you interfere with one, the other one will make you be known that you have actually interfered with this. So people are putting so much effort on who becomes the commissioners and who doesn't become. I think they should concentrate on getting their own votes and winning this election on issues. Yes.
I don't think, is it people putting pressure on IEBC to win elections, or it was expected? Because if you look at now the time that we have, 2.5 years to go, perhaps every competitor in the political field would put pressure on the referee.
Of course, people who lose matches always blame the referees. But I think your effort in playing will earn you the goals rather than trying to blame the referees. One thing also we must know, we must understand, that the commission has just come to provide the legal aspect of those decisions. But the secretariat has always been there. Probably even the template for delimiting the boundaries are already in place. Most of these things must be in place. So the commissioners are just coming to validate it, to some extent even to rubber stamp it. They can debate on it where there are issues and then take it forward. But there has been a secretariat before. So don't let us not behave like the commissioners have come late, so everything is late.
You think so?
I think so.
Of course, we've had this issue for far too long, but then now the commissioners have come too late. That issue of public participation, if you really wanted to have the delimitation, because it's a legislative process, and it would involve going across the country, taking views, public participation, etc., etc. So you're saying that the delimitation process took place behind the scenes?
No, I'm not saying it took place. The template, you remember? I kept aware their template. Now, if they have had that template and they want to do public participation, it can be done. Public participation is not something that is going to be done over a long period of time. And it in different parts of the country. But also remember, those public participation results are not entirely binding to the commission. The commission will do what is right, considering what the people have suggested. But they are not binding. Because you will find a place where 100 people are suggesting something different from the other 100. So what are you going to do? That is why the commission is there to make decisions. Yes.
Okay. Wakil George Kithi, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, is also here. Wakil, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you after quite some time.
Yeah, it's been quite...
Missed you too. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How is Kenya doing?
Kenya is doing well. Kenya is doing very well.
Yes.
It's doing very well because Kenyans have set up for themselves.
Yeah.
When we were at the university, went through the same transition. Same time, and there's a bit of friction with the government at that time. That's settled.
Yeah.
At a point. Unfortunately, of course, some of the students, we lost some of the students, we lost certain people, but we have a certain latitude of progressive constitution, a certain latitude of progressive environment in terms of liberties. Those liberties are unavailable to certain people in this part of Africa. Having said that, a generational uprising such as we have, I don't want to call it an uprising per se, but the voices and the decibel of their voices are heard higher than they have been heard before, is on account of the fact that there is a certain reorganization of society that needs to be identified. And I like what Right Honorable Raila Odinga said the other day, that we need to discuss with the youth. President Uhuru Kenyatta, during his term, was very vocal on the youth agenda and used to say, these are people that we need to deal with somehow in terms of providing for an environment to anchor their living and give them hope. That's the same thing that we're facing today. They need the hope. If there was substantial promise of hope, they would probably be confronting issues that are facing them differently. Violence is never the first option of a human person. A person ordinarily is skewed towards self-preservation. That's the thing. By the time you move into self-defense and an act of violence, there's a provocation or an environment that beholds that position. So what I propose, what I think will be one is an agenda that can be wished away. The past 2 months of an active agenda in the country on the youth should not be drawn under the carpet. It should be an agenda on economics. It should not be an agenda on development. It should be an agenda on the politics of the day. Number two is, what is their voice within the political space? And I do think that they have all been given the latitude that they represent themselves.
Yes.
You see, the question of representation has been the fiefdoms that we've created in our constituencies and wards and counties. But then there's an emerging trend of what representation will be, which is generational. That it doesn't matter who you put as a governor, as a senator, as a women rep. There must be then an account of what you do to a certain section of society, meaning the youth. And therefore, also, the question of representation could be, we could be overrepresented in terms of fiefdoms of the geographical separations that we have. But on account of the youth, who we know that most of them are urbanites in growth. They've been born and brought up probably in the urban areas. Those that are in the rural areas also have an association with the urban movement of the youth on account of how they organize themselves around the social media space. And therefore, how the youth are organized in the manner in which they're already organized by government, by society, is an important thing on how they are accounted for in representation in government, in the hope that we would want to offer them. And therefore, eventually, it's an issue that has to be addressed, because if it is not, then the agitation for their voice to be heard and the decibel can only be growing higher and higher, especially as we go to the frictious environment of the electoral cycle, which is determining probably in the next few months, probably less than 24 months. Coming back to the question of the constitution of IEBC, it's a very good thing for the country. The IEBC probably is beholden to higher calling more than the politicians that we hear every day running us. The reason is they then give us a platform. If done to the ideals of the law and the constitution, then we have for ourselves the cycle of, you know, the possibility and the right, exercise of the right to elect the people that should be speaking for us. And that's representation. Why we have the problem sometimes that we have, including today, is because we have complaints on the representations that we have. Suffice it to say that the ideas of democracy and probably the hegemony, the national psyche itself is anchored intrinsically in IEBC. We should respect the fact that IEBC has not been put into place. What we should be asking of IEBC now is that they should be beholden to the law and the constitution. We're not even asking for much. What does the law say? Do it as it says, not at the whim of any politician. It doesn't matter who the leadership is. It doesn't matter where you come from. You just do what ought to be done in the calling of the law as IEBC. It is that simple for me. The bucket full is not a bucket full on account of what they want to do. It is because the law says so. So they should do what the law says and not what they would wish to do for the people. Actually, not do a single thing more, not do a single thing less. They should just within the law.
To the constitution and the law.
That's it.
Okay, let's bring in Daniel Orogo. Daniel Orogo, political analyst and a friend of Good Morning Kenya. For far too long, he disappeared. You just have to tell us where you went to. I mean, it can never be like that. Dan, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's a pleasure to see you, Akili. I am glad that he says he's also taken a lot of time to be on set.
Exactly.
So it's a pleasure.
I did get that memo.
Yeah, meeting the panel and Odoyo with you as well.
Yes.
So it's always a pleasure to be here this morning.
Karibu, karibu.
Asante.
So we are here. The IEBC is now full house. We are happy. Are you happy?
Well, mixed reaction for me. It's like, of course, the way my colleague has alluded to, and my colleagues as well. The daunting task now to rebuild the public trust.
Yes.
And I think that is the elephant in the room right now, that we've had the concept of election before as antagonistic, the concept of election before as violent. And that every time we approach an election period, there is a heightened tension in terms of whether our votes should really count or whether count our votes is the one that counts. So I think that there had been a lot of contestation with regards to the independence of the commission as, you know, the first word of the Independence Electoral Boundaries Commission. And of course, the idea that elections are compromised based on whoever recruited or whoever appointed the commissioners. And so like you saw when they were being sworn in, and the CJ was very clear that, you know, you now have to be custodians of the Kenyan democracy that has been ailing for a long time. That the commissioners has to restore the public trust that waned for a long time. And so for me, it is a matter of also wait and see, because like before, the constitution and the reconstitution of the commission has been an issue of a political interference, the lack of independence in the commission, which is very critical to the health and democracy of this country. So for me, I may not really give it a stamping, you know, sense of confidence, but also to look at. But there seems to be a progress. I mean, we've just heard that there's an, you know, internal, nomination or democracy amongst them. You know, with the election of Madam Fatima. It's got from Madam Fatima.
Yes.
Abdallah Arafat. You know,
yeah.
as the deputy, and she's young, probably giving confidence, a symbolism to young people that, you know, it is possible to have young people in this office. So I think it's a matter of also wait and see. But as Wakili has mentioned, would we see a debate that is thrown in between playing a political relevance and playing a constitutionalism, you know, with regards to the rule of law in the operations of the commission? Because now the commission is fully operational.
Yes.
Now it is not a matter of institutional vacuum. It is a matter of the strength on the constitutionality of the constitution, but equally the strength on how they would wade in between the murky waters of, fulfilling, you know, the political interests that are so diverse and sometimes are so strong within the commission. I think that is where we are, you know.
Let me ask you all of this question. How do you advise the commission to handle itself so differently from other commissions that we've had? We had the Kivitu Commission, we had Isaac Hassan Commission, and now we had the Chebukati Commission. Now we have Ethicon Commission. So, from your own experience, because you've all been in these electoral processes in one way or another, how would you advise the commission to handle the commission differently, or even the electoral process? Starting with you, Odoyo.
I think we are putting too much emphasis on the commission. Election systems are such a process that begins from such a long time, all the way in registration of voters until it comes to voting day, until it goes to... Actually, it just ends at the commission headquarters. That is where the commissioners physically interacts with the election system. Nevertheless, what they say and the decisions they make, countdown to the election, also must give the public confidence. That I must say. But putting emphasis that if your people are there, people who favor you, then you are going to win, that is not possible. The system we put is foolproof even to those commissioners. Those commissioners, even if your brother is there, it cannot make you win an election. It cannot. Because it is a system that is managed. Just like in government, the president is not everywhere. He can't decide what the police do in one station or the other. It will finally end with him but he can't control every wing of that. So are the commissioners. But I think they must learn to be unanimous. This is the problem we have had in the past, especially in the last general election, when we had some 4 commissioners rebel. But I think when you look at it backwards, then you remember when they were recruited, who and who presided over their recruitment, and then you know they were most likely bound to favor the axis that recruited them. But I think the chairman needs to put his commissioners together now that they were recruited together to give the people of Kenya confidence to talk a language that is unity, to talk a language that would lead to peace. Because another election debacle in this country is not acceptable anymore. We saw what it did to us in the past, in the 2007, what I still today call an electoral coup. We can't go there one more time.
Okay. Wakili.
Well, I think the calling here is, I think justice needs not only be done, but it must be seen to be done. Because, you see, when you're doing a just thing, it must be communicated as such.
Yeah.
It must be seen as such. It must be packaged as such. It must be consumed as such. There must be a communication between the receiver of justice and the giver of justice. So, notwithstanding what you do, you must live within the four corners of the calling of the high office that you occupy, especially because you are managing democracy and leadership of the country. And basically, the entire social edifice that defines the country. Why I say so is because the previous problems we had with the electoral bodies as constituted by the people who are appointed to it is because they created within the conduct a perception of bias. And that perception of bias then grows to a disaffection of the people, and therefore they will reject the result notwithstanding the entire result, because the process itself is questionable. And I say this because we say, you see, the result is important, but the process towards the result is also important. And the person holding the office is equally important in the manner in which the person behaves. So an electoral officer cannot then pronounce himself, behave in a manner of bias towards someone, and expect us that the results will be divorced from the manner in which that person has behaved. So for this body, it's not just doing what the law says, it's behaving in a manner that befits the calling of that office in private and in public, such as that how you associate yourself with people, how you carry yourself, because this is a high-octane emotionalized process. The electoral process is very emotive, extremely emotive. In fact, I always say, the Kenyan we are talking to today, including myself and you, and the Kenyan that votes, those are two different people. The emotional Kenyan who votes has this divisive element of fissures, obviously called upon by democracy, because democracy calls us within 5-year cycle to bias ourselves for or against someone. In a sense, therefore, we are called upon to divide ourselves to get a result of a leader. And that is not anchored in any law. We say, if it's because he gave you money, vote for him. Because he was your classmate, vote for him. If because you are related with him by marriage, by blood, by tribe, ethnicity, still vote for him. It's still legal. There's nothing illegal about that, because it's a choice based on a certain emotion within you.
Yeah.
Now, that then is a conversion of sorts at the height of it when you're casting the vote. You are casting it because you want it to count, and it's an emotion, because you have a 5-year cycle within which to live with that decision. Cumulatively, that bias, if biased, as similar to others, then gives you a result for you or against what you think is a decision. So a voter thinks that he has lost because the person who he voted for did not get the seat, and therefore he thinks he's lost or she thinks she's lost. That's the perception of the voter. So it has to be carried with the emotion that is called upon at the end of it, whether here or US or whatever democracy of an election, eventually it becomes emotive. And at times it becomes as frictious as seen in the US and other countries. By the way, it could mean the holding of the social edifice as is, or breaking it completely at times. We've seen it in 2007 and 2008. At times, also the legitimacy of it is called upon because of the behavior of the people. Legitimacy is not the law. Law can be the pronouncement legally of who the winner is. That's the law.
Yeah.
But how people accept the pronouncement is the legitimate effect of the law, which means this. Eventually, you must have the legitimacy to rule the people. The people must accept that, yes, we voted and you are the leader, notwithstanding whether you are pronounced or not. So legitimacy, therefore, is the ability to rule the people, notwithstanding what the law has said.
That's also emotional.
Yes, that itself is emotive.
Let me just bring Dan here before we take a break. Dan, imagine sitting in that commission, and based on what Wakili said, probably you went back to the Maraga ruling, the process.
Yes.
All right? The process. I think that was your background.
Yes.
But then looking at that, it's more of an emotional kind of process, the way he's putting it again, but the legal aspect is also put in place. So,
and the political aspect.
The political aspect.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, the Electoral Commission is, you know, there are all these emotions from the voters and coming out from sometimes a heightened electoral campaign process.
Yeah.
And the expectations of delivery on free, fair, and credible elections. And like Wakilia said, whether it is free or credible or fair, beholds, it is in the eye of the voter, and not really what sometimes the commission is expected to do. And you know, the perception on how we, you know, accredit the electoral commission is based on our perception, on what probably sometimes the outcome that is free, fair, and credible is, according to us. But you've asked a very critical question. If I was to advise the, you know, the Hackathon Commission on what then would be done differently, but you see, it is a constitutional commission. It is a commission that must carry out its conduct according to the Constitution. And that's why I said the wings, the strong arm of political arm twisting that comes, that sometimes tries to, you know, destabilize them, even as they pursue the constitutional mandate. Sometimes it really becomes so heavy. But, Victor, the election evaluation report of 9th of August 2022 on general elections, this was done by the now the deceased chair, Chebukati Commission. I think just after the elections, they did an evaluation report, and I think they could have handed it over, and they probably handed it over to the Secretariat. And this is what the Hackathon Commission probably is picking up on, recommendations of that report. Appoint the IEBC commissioners at least 2 years before the election is done. Have we appointed this commission at least 2 years? The answer is yes or no. They are within, they are appointed within. So I think you can see that there is a fast tracking, particularly of that recommendation. This was done by the Chebukati Commission. Another recommendation is that enhance the engagement of the parliament in terms of coming up with some proposals. With regards to, you know, there was an issue about, you know, the IEBC fund, and I think we should also debate what is this fund about. If there was probably an allocation of, you know, financially what this, you know, fund needs to do within the commission. There are a number of rafts of recommendations, including enhancing efficiency with regards to, you know, digitalization of the operations of the commission. So if you're asking me what I would advise the commission, please stick to the dictates of the law. And secondly, look at the evaluation report that was done by your predecessors. Because they saw exactly what happened. Chebukati, I think, should be, how many elections was it? Two elections. So probably he has got experience on the recommendations. And I think that is important.
You're number 2 done?
Yes.
Okay, number 3 is we take a break. I need to serve you tea.
I saw that coming.
All right, let's just take a quick break. Serve tea, and then I'll come back so that you can continue with the recommendations as well. But there's also another something which is important, the gender balance that is witnessed here. 3 women, with the woman being a vice chair, which is a very good thing. Let's take a look at that when we come back shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. So I promised to come back with Dan. Dan, number 3, continue.
Oh,
So
sorry.
the recommendations, you had recommendation number 1, number 2 from the lead chair.
Yeah, I think I had mentioned that there was a recommendation to enhance engagement with Parliament, to fast-track the proposed amendments. That is also to enhance collaboration with stakeholders. And this is what I was saying is important to diversify the concept of civic education, because this is also one of the aspects. You see, when IEBC has got a sole cardinal authority to carry out continuous voter education, so does that mean that civil society or other instituted stakeholders cannot do it? So I think there could be a discussion whether for a Kenyan population, especially now that we are talking about young people being new voters in the voter register, then is it important for other stakeholders, the media, the civil society, the religious institutions, to also assist on carrying out civic education and voter engagement. So another very important one is to strengthen access on the tallying centers. This has become also a bone of contention. Remember during the vote tallying and the differences within the numbers that always comes when it comes to voter tallying and voter during the voter relaying. So they're even recommending that could we have an IEBC center that is different and taken out of anniversary towers. And I think you've seen the chair talking about the establishment of Uchaguzi Center, which I also think is important, because sometimes when the politicians are frustrated about the outcome, and now they rally, they mobilize the masses. Remember, the IEBCs must go, Chebukati must leave. There is always a consistent onslaught, at the anniversary towers.
Yeah.
And so the commission, I think it's not even the Hackathon. I think Hackathon might have now been picking from recommendations. And I agree with him that there needs to be an independent center for IEBC. That they established a place and then probably acquire the building, the property, or construct an IEBC center where it could be safeguarded from constant onslaught. But finally, Victor, why is it taking us long to digitize our elections and our vote tallying system, to operationalize the electoral processes, apart from just acquiring KIMS kit and BVR kits? Could we upgrade and probably think about having election outcome that is so digitalized, that is so secured? I know guys will fault me about the Kamango issues and all these things, people who are, the opening of the servers issue. But could we have our election digitalized so that we are not constantly thinking that an individual within the commission might have interfered with the process, yet it is digitalized and is, interference proof. So I think these are conversations that we actually should be looking at right now, even as we think about the by-elections, even as we think about, the delimitation of boundaries,
But again, that would also call for another improved infrastructure. I mean, some places will not even get proper network. I don't know whether Kwale has proper network, Wakili.
No, it doesn't.
So you'll be disadvantaged when you get to that point. Okay, so let's talk about the issue of gender parity now. You talked about it ought to be the other way around.
Yeah. We've seen. Let me say this from consumption of the services.
But I think let me just give the rundown before you come to that.
Yes.
For just put in context with the chair. We have got Edung Ethekon, who is the chairperson of the commission. We have got Fahima Abdallah, who is the chairperson. And now we have got commissioners Anjeri Nderitu, Moses Atulalala Mukhwana, and Mary Karen Sorobit. Last but not least, Hassan Nur Hassan, and finally Francis Odhiambo Aduol. We have got 3 ladies and 4 gents in that commission.
That's Mary and Fahima.
Yes, we have got Mary, Anne and Fahima. Yes. 3.
Interesting to say. Could we also, as Wakili comes in, are you able to establish the regional representation as well?
Why not? Go ahead.
No, that would be hard, because I know some of them. Etoken, for instance, was behind me in college. Obviously, today when you talk of regional representation, it's very tricky. I'm from Kilifi. Largely all my life is in Nairobi. So where is my region in terms of workspace? Obviously it's Nairobi, right? So the context of regional representation now is a fallacy. It is true that when we come to actual election and representation, you must represent where you come from.
Yeah.
But when it comes to national issues like this, probably we identify them with the names. If it's a Kip, then we know it's Kalenjin or something. If it's Njoroge. But the truth is, where you are socialized in terms of your day-to-day running of affairs will be more important than where you've come from, because some have abandoned, okay, not abandoned, but left their homes a long time ago, probably even in primary schools.
Our name is important.
Yes, yes. but again, I must say, the name becomes important because the law prescribes regional representation as a factor in consideration for appointments to public affairs. So it's still a consistent thing. Maybe in the next few phases of election cycle, probably in 30, 50, it won't be an issue. We've seen how, for instance, the agencies are organized, such as that a name wouldn't be identical to how they are, clamoring for change or whatever they do. And maybe we will get there. And I hope soon we won't have to have a tribe as an identity for reward or merit, as is presupposed now. However, at the judiciary, we've gotten at a place that probably those that sit in the composition of the magistrates and judges, it's either equal or the female would be more than the male. Now, looking at what the judiciary is today and how it was before, there's definitely an improvement of service delivery. I'm not talking about quality. I'm talking about the calling of the day for public service delivery to the people. It could be reached. You can reach courts more. We actually can do it even online.
Yeah.
I feel I'm being served better in the judiciary, not because the female are more, but because we feel more organized, probably better organized than we were before. I must therefore say that it is not just the men who can do it. The women can also do it. So when we talk about equality and equity in terms of gender representation, it is not what members of parliament do in terms of refusing to identify that and make it 50-50.
Yeah.
It should be some commonplace in everywhere that we have public space, such as that we don't have to have a debate on it. It ought to, the woman should never feel a woman and the man should never feel a woman. They must feel like Kenyans. And I think the composition here of the ratio of 4:3 is good enough towards propelling us to one day having either a 50-50 or a gender surpassing, the female gender surpassing the male in composition. And the result will probably be subtle or much better, probably comfort to the consumers of services, because then the issue of being discriminated because I'm a woman or a man will be a settled issue at that time. It may never arise again. The other question that probably we need to look at is this an improvement? The way it's composed, is there perception of an improved, more settled, and a better outcome from them? I must say that there's youth, quite a bit of youth in that composition. Gender has been addressed, not quite at 50-50, but it's addressed such as then the threshold of law has been met. As to the possibility of timelines set out in law, let me put it this way. There's no law that is ideal. The law is always made available because a majority of the people through the representation in parliament feel it is good for them. So when when members of parliament vote to pass a certain legislation, it's not because every Kenyan accepts and agrees with that legislation. In any event, invariably, unless they're increasing their salaries, there's always an opposition to a certain piece of legislation because of divergent views, which is encouraged. But again, we say that the law is majoritarian in terms of its composition. So we'll have a law because majority of members of parliament passed it. Yeah. So there can't be therefore an ideal law that everybody accepts it. No, we will not have that. So we don't expect the ideal, the complete ideal, in terms of the composition and even the results, because we have human error that is going to be involved in the human beings that we put into place there. But the best is can we have the confidence, can they give us the confidence that whatever is discharged as an outcome of the next democratic cycle of 5 years,
yes,
those will be acceptable to us. Probably the minimum acceptable. Not probably the best acceptable, but the minimum acceptable. Such as that, then we can move into the next 5 years in our affairs, political affairs, economic affairs, social affairs, and whatever it is, with the comfort that we have men and women out there who are going to present us. Of course, men and women can misbehave once they're elected. That's a different issue, because that's a political system. But as to the result, can it be credible that it's the voice of the people that has been heard? And that's what we're looking for. The minimum the Kenyan is calling for today is that my vote counts, but the majority of those votes, as I have voted myself, in the majority, those win. That's really the calling. Whatever rules we put, ultimately, and by this sometimes we don't even need rules, but we need rules because we suspect that there'll be default. Somebody will
misbehave somewhere.
Yes, and in fact that's the main reason why we have rules.
Okay, let me bring in Odoyo. Look at that ratio, 4-3 or 3-4, whichever you look at it. An improvement?
It's a clear improvement.
Yes.
It is a dream that we have always wanted in this country. The only problem I sometimes have with it is how it is achieved. The most untalked about article in this country is Article 27. If we achieve it through discrimination and saying, here we must take a woman and leave out a man, then we are also going to compromise competence at times. It reaches a time when you have applicants that are largely men, and if there are 1 or 2 women there, they most sometimes are very incompetent from what they present. What do you do at that point? That is why my advocacy has always been, can we deliberately take long-term actions which in 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 years will bring all women at par with men to compete on the same table without leaving out some seats that these are purely for women. Women have gone to the National Assembly on the basis of affirmative action. And they have been given free 47 seats. But they have never made an effort to do something that in future we would not have to do that. What are they doing to the girl child today that in future will make the girl child and the boy child compete at par for the national cake, for the social positions that are available, for the political positions that are available? Are they doing anything? Or they are satisfied that they will always be given free ride to parliament by virtue of them being women, or free ride into public position by virtue of being women? We would like to see as many women as men in public positions, even 50-50, or even sometimes women up. But how do we achieve it? In the short term, we have been trying to do affirmative action. What about in the long term? What are we doing deliberately to do it, to achieve it? Today we had a 2/3 gender rule in parliament. It has not been operationalized. And there are women lawyers in that house. They are lazy because they have their seats. But what about those who are coming behind them? So we should have a scenario where they deliberately go out of the way to operationalize that article. And if they can't do it, then we remove it from the Constitution because it is not operationalized in parliament. So I think we are also putting too much emphasis on women, youth. Youth, let's come to it. In the spectrum, they are below the adults, right? It means whatever the adults are doing now, they will finally get there. We are behaving like youth is another tribe that has to balance with the rest. Youth are our sons. They are our daughters. And if there are certain positions in the country, for example, if you want to put a 24-year, 29-year governor today, he serves 10 years, and where does he go from there? We must also appreciate that these people holding those positions now were once youth, and those people who are youth now will also get there. And there are certain
is there a problem with that?
And there's no problem. But when you go out of your way to say, even though we needed experience here, we still need a youth. Youth will get what the old people are getting now, and they will do very well. In fact, some positions require a lot of experience. For example, the chair of IEBC. I heard some people making noise that we needed a youth there. We can't ignore experience in life. It is the best teacher. It has taught many people. In any case, if youth are good now, in future they'll be better. And they can even handle those responsibilities much better than they would handle it at this age. I am not saying we don't consider them. When we find a youth has equal competence and qualifications as an old man, definitely you go for the youth. Definitely, because youth learn faster, they have more energy. But to come and deliberately bring a youth and leave out a very qualified, well-experienced old man because it's a youth will still get there in the future. So as much as we want a society in which people are equal as described in Article 27, we must deliberately also try not to discriminate against anybody. Not men, not women, not old women, not youth. We have to give everybody an opportunity to hold a position in this country in which he used to serve the people of Kenya.
Thank you. Let's talk about...
I mean, that word experience is exclusionary. It's discriminative. And I think I don't let Odoyo go away with that. Because when you talk about that we do not, in various contexts, do not consider because we are looking at experience, true as it sounds, but we operate on a constitutionally driven country that require an affirmative action. And it is not a debate. It is not a considerable that we can go wishy-wishy about it. While I acknowledge that indeed, sometimes experience is required, Victor. Sometimes it is required and is well mentioned. But then how will the young people get experience when we are not given or they are not given an opportunity to do that? So I think it is important to put that in context. That while we might, in fact, a lot of advertisement requires 20 years experience, 15, 5 years experience, but it's through allowing young people, any other disadvantaged demography, to be within the streamlines of this particular function, that then they get experience. Right, Victor? Because I have seen, even within the interview of the commission, we had young people who appeared on the commission.
Yeah.
Some of them are my friends who appeared on the interview. And as a result of that, probably because of the age factor. I remember I also heard that in a different panel, someone saying that, you see, we might require this experience to run the commission and do this. Why do you require for that experience to run commission? You negate the importance of young people, but you need to register hundreds of them, millions of them as new voters. Could that be contradictory in its sense?
Let me
I think it's important also to clarify that on the set, that this word experience has been used for a very long time, as a very coarse word, but is hidden in discrimination, deeply hidden. So I think it's important also to...
The IEBC is also... When you look at the ward level, the constituency level, the county levels, there are so many roles that youth can, can undertake.
And why not as a commissioner?
No, they are going to get experience in those lower places.
Okay. That's a question I need myself. Why not as a commissioner?
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
Let me put it this way. Just for 1 minute.
Why not a commissioner?
Why not as a commissioner?
Just 1 minute.
Yes.
You see, once you train as a doctor, you must, in law, and by design, take some time and work under instruction so that then we can trust you at the altar of a procedure to deliver. As a lawyer, you must go through certain training so that then the unsuspecting public can receive your services, and we have the confidence that you will not mislead and deliver the rights of people and protect them. Similarly, therefore, in society, the general rule is everybody ought to be equal. That's the general rule, rule of general application. But we, in law, create discriminatory clauses deliberately, discriminatory, on account of the fact that in certain areas, we cannot trust non-experienced people to deliver certain functions. For instance, a 1-year-old practicing lawyer cannot be a chief justice. The reason is you ought to have socialized yourself and applied the law over time until such that you can speak the law, write the law, and deliver on the law, because you need the experience. And therefore, a chief justice shall be that who qualifies as a judge of the High Court and shall be 15 years of experience. You see, therefore, what it means is that it's not like the lawyers the young lawyers cannot become Chief Justice. No, it's because they're going to be practiced within the years as they continue to practice the law and understand it, such as that then at 15-year experience, you are ripe for the test of whether now you can become, hold the office or not. And that's the beauty about the world. The world is created on seasons. There's a season to be born, and you'll have to grow through it. You will then have to go to school. We can't just say because you are young, you ought to have the experience and come and start working. No. In fact, you can't get married when you're young. You have to get to 18 years for us to trust that you can drive your car, you can work, and you can get married.
So this is what I want us to do, gentlemen.
Victor, let me just clear something here. I need to explain what experience is about. You probably know that my training is education. And I have to tell you that experience is progressive. You cannot be the auditor general before you became an accountant somewhere on the way, maybe an auditor somewhere on the way, maybe you headed a department. That is the experience you need, because at certain levels, a small mistake is a big deal. So we cannot take you before your competence is proved along the chain. So better practice, get experience, then take that position. And that is also good. In fact, you would be discriminating against those who have gone experience when you give somebody with no experience a job that they should do. Where are they going to take their experience? Thank you.
I want us to do this, gentlemen. Within 5 minutes that is remaining, time flies so fast. Okay. So we have got so many by-elections pending. That is Magarini constituency. The seat fell vacant following the nullification of the 2022 election results by the High Court. The former MP is Harrison Kombe. We have got Banisa constituency. The member of parliament died in 2023 following a road accident. That's Honorable Kulo Hassan. In Ugunja constituency, the seat fell vacant because Opiyo Wandayi was elevated to a position of the CS. Malava constituency, Malulu Injendi also passed on. We also have Mbere North constituency. That is Godfrey Roku, who is now the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, and now my own constituency. And
are you vying?
No. I'm not vying, but that's my constituency back in the village. That is Kasipol, who died in April 30th. So we have got six constituencies for a by-election, and we can imagine how intense this could be. We have got so many political, temperatures rising. But gentlemen, in your own way, again, how do we make Kenya great? In your closing remarks, having this in mind with the IEBC, whatever we discussed, in summary, how do we make Kenya great? Let me start with, yes, Mwalimu.
About
set the pace.
Before I say what would make Kenya great, about the multiple by-elections that we have, it is a good testing ground for the new IEBC.
Okay.
From there, the
public... Camera 4.
Sorry?
Camera 4, that's your camera.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
I was saying that in the multiple by-elections that we are going to have, that I would call a micro-general election, because I'm sure there are thousands of MCA positions, if not hundreds, that are going to be also on the ballot. It is an opportunity for us to test the new IEBC. And I want to warn them that whatever they do with these by-elections will determine what the people think about them in the near future. Nevertheless, you have asked us to say what would make Kenya great again. One of the biggest problems we have in this country is what I call entitlement. In this country, there are about 4 or 5 very large communities. We call them tribes in Kenya. And they feel entitled to produce presidential candidates. It is my submission that in the future, we probably need to review the constitutions. That when a community has produced a presidential candidate, they wait for 2 decades before they present another one to be elected by Kenyans. Because this is why we cannot have stability in a government which does not come from one of those communities. Right now, it is very clear that there is a bias and clear bias against the current President, William Ruto. Thank you.
All right. How to make Kenya great. That is his own opinion.
That's mine.
He's a teacher. So if he is not so careful, he'll use so many coded language. Wakili, how to make Kenya great? Camera 2.
Thank you. Fellow Kenyans, Kenya is a great country. It is our duty for all of us to make it great and leave a place better for those that come after us. The responsibility is not about being uncaring to the environment that we have, especially the political environment. We need to be patient with each other. Patient in the sense that every opinion of another person counts, because he's one of us. No one among us chose to be Kenyans. We were Kenyans by right of birth, and whatever made us Kenyans through the legal processes. But I must submit here that we plead with Kenyans to push together for our own economic prosperity, because we have children that we cannot stop bearing. We will have children now and tomorrow and many days to come. For those that leave us, they leave us with children still being born. We need to have space for those children, because they will grow into youth and they'll become, they have a legitimate expression towards economic exploitation, and they must have equal chances within which they have to be employed and also be entrepreneurs. So you must have the platform upon which we either give them this, but also prepare for those that are coming, because you'll never stop. Social responsibility is important. We must also stop thinking ethnically. We are formed ethnically initially, but as we go, continue to interact and test our laws in terms of universality of application of law and human rights. We must know that whichever position you are, whether a policeman, a politician, or whatever you're serving a Kenyan and not your tribe. So we must de-ethnicize the country. And lastly, politically, we are maturing. All that is happening must form towards any society to be a better society. We must therefore tolerate each other as we picket. We must tolerate each other as we pronounce ourselves in opinions. And importantly, those in leadership, remember, you are not ordinary Kenyans. You have a higher calling to the Kenyans. Listen to the Kenyans and prioritize what they say. They are only asking that you listen to them, because you are in those positions for purpose of serving Kenyans under the Constitution. Thank you, and God bless Kenya.
Thank you, and God bless Kenya. Very good and well put. Dan, your 2 minutes of fame begins right now. How do we make Kenya?
I don't know which is my camera.
Camera two. Camera two.
Well, I think even in less than a minute is that Justice Maraga once ruled out that we must be a country that must follow the rule of law, and that a country that is bound by the fear of God. And that makes us a strong country. So we have the rule of law and the fear of God in whatever places that we serve. And secondly, that is what makes us strong. What makes us great as a country is measured on how we handle our weakest. And our weakest here probably could be people who, cannot manage to do other things for themselves, including the young people, Victor. And while I do not want to go to the debate about young people in this, is that the greatness and the future of this country is how we handle the young people. Mm-hmm. We cannot pour, acclamations on them that they are innovators, they are inventors. But when it comes to us giving them the position to serve, then we contextualize based on experience and other things. So we must really treat our young people as leaders of now, and those that are required to carry the beacon of leadership in this country. And I think, lastly, Victor, even as we progress, is for us to reevaluate the Article 10 of the Constitution that we stand on, the values and principles of governance. We have a value as a country really spelled out. Our diversity must be a point to be exploited and appreciated, as opposed to something that takes us to extremely on a conflict and division.
Thank you very much. Okay. That is how we wrap it up. But before you go, I want to take a look at what's on the front page of the local daily. Starting on the front page of the Daily Nation, Lagat off the hook. That's what I have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Lagat off the hook, that is the Deputy Inspector General of Police. Eliud Lagat is today expected to resume office after investigations cleared him of any wrongdoing over the death of teacher cum blogger Albert Ojwang in police custody. The police chief was forced to step aside following public pressure and youth-led protests. That is what I have here on the front page of the Daily Nation. It was an act of probe. Now police boss also fighting petition in court to save his job. Raila and Gachagua, the unlikely kingmakers. We have that. On the front page of the Star, what do you have? What aggrieved Gen Z want amid broken promises? That is the front page of the Star newspaper, that is rather. What aggrieved Gen Z want amid broken promises? Unemployment and cost of living, of course, are the major concerns. And the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, says that Ruto needs no IEBC favors to retain president seat in 2027. And the top header. And of course, the Star says that they're celebrating 18 years. All right. On the front page of the Standard, Wali Modoyo did not want to read for me the front page. Oh no, not again. That is on the front page of the Standard newspaper. The lady in position there is 24-year-old Julia Kariuki, who lost her life. According to, well, the prison services has admitted that she died in their custody, though they claim that she arrived already injured. The cold deflection of responsibility even as that is happening. So you can take a look at that story. She was injured during the protest, and how police conceal evidence after taking lives of innocents. That's on the front page of the Standard newspaper. You can take a look at your favorite newspaper and read for yourself. Let me take a quick question here. Dan, there was a question which was meant for you on Twitter. Someone says that Dan alipotea wapi? Kwani ati ulikuwa honeymoon?
Amepatikana.
That's just a concerned Kenyan. Okay, you can answer that question.
You didn't tell us some of these things.
I took a media break, and you know, it was important to reflect. And sometimes I think my panelists can agree that you know you empty a lot, but then you need to be refilled. So I think it's important sometimes to take time to refresh yourself. So yeah, I took hiatus out of the media, but it's good to now come back and build the nation.
All right.
Yeah.
Karibu sana. Okay, so
but do they know anything about the honeymoon?
Why are you avoiding the accuracy? And by the it's a lady.
No,
I just want to know.
I have just clarified that it was a break to just refresh myself.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming. We have to go and build Kenya in other positions. Asante sana Wali Modoyo Wedu, who is a political analyst. Jagwenga, if you know what Jagwenga means. Thank you so much for coming. Wakili George Kithe, asante sana.
Thank you.
How is Kilifi doing?
Kilifi is well.
Okay.
Kumenyesha. Tuko na mahindi. We're good. We're not complaining.
All right.
Other things tutasema.
Tutaongea hapo kando. Dan, asante sana.
You're welcome. Asante sana. Thanks for hosting us.
Karibu sana. All right. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Victor Lo. Have a good morning. Bye-bye.